Episode 8 Civil Disobedience Ignites India. The waves of the Arabian Sea had barely settled after Gandhi's act of defiance, yet the fire of freedom had already spread across India. Everywhere, people were speaking of salt. Not because it was rare, but because it was now a symbol of courage. A symbol that ordinary people could challenge an empire. Villagers boiled seawater to make their own salt. Merchants sold it openly in markets. Women carried baskets of salt on their heads and laughed at the soldiers who tried to stop them. Men walked proudly to prisons, knowing they were part of something greater. In towns and cities, Gandhi's call for civil disobedience grew louder. Indians refused to pay unfair taxes. They boycotted British cloth and began to spin their own khadi. They left government jobs, shut down offices, and filled the streets with peaceful protests. The British rulers were stunned. They had guns, prisons, and laws, but the people had unity, and they were unafraid of suffering. Soon, prisons overflowed. Leaders, teachers, farmers, even children were arrested. Some were beaten. Some starved, yet the movement did not stop. Every time one leader was jailed, another rose. Every time one protest was crushed, 10 more began. In Darasana, unarmed volunteers marched toward the salt works. Soldiers with clubs stood waiting. The marchers fell one by one, beaten to the ground. But not a single hand was raised in return. The world was shocked. International reporters wrote, "Here is a revolution, but without blood. A war, but without weapons." The image of India was changing. No longer silent under British rule, but rising in waves of truth and non-violence. Gandhi's vision of satyagraha was no longer just his, it belonged to the people. But the cost was heavy. Families were torn apart by arrests. Many lost their lives. Gandhi himself was taken to prison. Yet from behind the bars, his message echoed louder than ever. They can lock up our bodies, but they cannot lock up our spirit. By the end of 1930, India was alive with resistance. For the first time, the British Empire realized that its control was slipping, not by violence, but by the steady, unstoppable force of millions who had found their voice. The Salt March had become the spark. The civil disobedience movement was now the flame that spread across the land. And in that fire, a nation's hope was reborn. End of episode 8, to be continued in episode 9. The world watches India, closing scene. Call to action. If this chapter of Gandhi's struggle moved you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell so you never miss the next episode, and share this story to spread the power of truth and non-violence.